Okay, yeah, so good evening once again, and welcome to lesson 3. Yeah, so today we're actually going to be looking into, we're getting into Android Studio. You're going to be creating your very first application today, and of course, learn a few things. So, so the basic things we're going to actually learn today is, what user interface elements are. We'll talk about views, we'll talk about view groups, okay? We'll actually also learn how to display a text in an application, okay, and also how to set attributes of such text, such as fonts, for some of us who have used Microsoft Word to type or whatever typing platform, you can actually probably style your text to be maybe italics, or bold, or, add a color. Yeah, so how can we actually do all of those things in Android Studio on our application? Yes, so that's actually what we are going to be diving into today. So for some of us who will be coding along with me, I hope your Android Studio is ready, but if you won't, you can just pay attention. If you have questions, of course, just raise your hand and I'll do well to attend to it. But if you have your Android Studio with me, yeah, let's get straight into it. So just raise your hand if you can see my Android Studio. Just raise your hand. Just raise your hand. You can see welcome to Android Studio. If you can see it. Okay, or more, yes. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so so when you just run your Android Studio, okay, of course, this is the Active Fox version. I think I remember, yeah, this is Active Fox version. So I already have some projects open. Okay, so I'm just going to create a new project. Fadiped, okay, you can drop your hand. Okay, thank you. So I'm just going to create a new project. Now we'll get to talk about some of these things, okay, as we move ahead, okay, but I'm just going to create an empty project right now. Okay, so let's move. So yeah, there are a lot of activities here. We'll talk about what activities actually are, okay? We'll talk about most of these things, what an activity is and the likes. But one of the things I'm going to do is to tailor our classes into giving you the required knowledge at a particular time so as not to overload you with information. So whatever it is you feel I'm not talking about at a point, trust me, it is intentional. It's very much what's intentional. Okay, so I'm just going to, so these are activities. Activities are just screens, okay? They are just basic screens, so but we'll talk about it more. And I'm actually going to create an empty activity, okay? That's where we're actually going to start building our application. So I'm just going to click on next, and then I'm going to give my application a name. So I know you can see a lot of things, name, package name, save location, and all these things. Don't worry, don't fret, okay? I will explain these things as we go. I'll explain it as we go. Okay, so don't worry yourself. Okay, so let's move on. Yeah, so let's see, what do we call this? So we're going to just create a birthday application, or let me just call it anniversary. Let's see, anniversary. Yeah, anniversary application. Let's call it that. Okay, yeah, let's just call it that. So I'm going to, so that's that. I'm going to, there are a lot of things here, okay, but I don't really want, like I said, kind of let's focus on just some of the information I just need to know at a particular time, but we will expose ourselves to these things as time goes on, so as not to overload you. Okay, so I'm just going to click on finish. Okay, we are done. So we are basically just, setting up. So let me share my screen again. Okay. Yeah, so confirm you can actually see my Android Studio, please. I know it stopped sharing for a second there. Just raise your hand. I think that's fine.
I can see.
Okay, thank you. That's okay. Okay, so currently it's actually building it. Okay, it's setting up everything that needs to be set up for us to move forward. Okay, so while that is actually happening. Don't worry, I'm going to say a lot of stuff here, so don't worry about it. Okay, let's just focus on the information that we have to, pass just at, a particular time. Okay, so as not to overload you guys. So today, I said we're going to be talking about user interfaces. Okay, that's the first thing we want to know. What are user interfaces, or what the designers call UI? Okay, so the UI, or user interface of an application, it's just what you see on your screen. Okay, when you open your Facebook application, when you open your banking application, what you see on your screen is just what we call the user interface, is the UI. Okay, it consists of text, images, buttons, and some other type of elements. Okay, that that application actually requires. Okay, so it's basically how your application shows things to the user, and how the user interacts, with those elements. Okay. Now, the interesting thing, each of these elements, okay, is called a view. You really need to note this. Each of these elements is called a view. Okay. So that means that almost everything you see on your application is a view. So your text is a view. Your button is a view. Your image also is a view. Okay, and views can be interactive. For example, when you click on a submit button, or you click on an image, and then it kind of opens the image up for you to probably see it, in a much larger way, and probably download. Okay, so views are interactive. Views are interactive. Okay, so now this is it. The view in an application, they don't just float on your screen. They don't just float by themselves, okay? You don't just place it and, it's just floating around. No, they are positioned, and they have relationships to one another. They have relationships to one another, okay? Now, for example, okay, an image may be next to some text, okay? A typical example, an image could actually be next to some text. So I'm just going to, let me probably put out run my emulator so we can actually see some of these things. Okay, so an image, okay, for example, could be next to a text. Probably you have a text called profile pic, and then your name, and then you have an image that actually carries your image. So it shows that there's a relationship between the image and the text. There is that relationship between both of them. Okay, it may actually be in form of a row, in form of a column, whatever. Okay, so just know that. So what have I said so far? That whatever you see, every element you see in a screen is a view. That's one. Views have relationships with each other. That means if an image can be next to a text next to a button, and that. Now, another thing to note is that to organize your views, you must put them in a container. Okay, you must put them in a container. It's because when you have two or more views, to organize your views, you have to put them in a container. And that container, okay, is what we call a view group. That container is what we actually call a view group. Okay, you can actually note that down. It's very important. That container is what we call a view group. So what is a view group? So a view group is just a container that your views can actually sit in, okay? And it is responsible for arranging the views inside of it. So imagine having, your house, okay? The house you're staying in right now, okay? There are various things in that house, but they are placed at certain locations. They are placed at certain places. So the nature of your house kind of determines how you arrange those, those items in your house. Okay, so if your house is, kind of like a rounded shape stuff, of course, it determines how your stuff is going to be arranged. If it's rectangular, if it's a one bedroom, if it's a self-contained, if it's a one room, it kind of influences the arrangement of your properties. Okay, whatever it is you actually have. So that is just what we are talking about here. So a view group is a container that houses your views, and it is responsible for arranging those views. Okay, so let's actually move on. Let's look at something now. So I'm going to open up, the environment where we get to design our applications. Okay, now we can see a lot of folders here, and don't worry, we'll talk about each of these things, in details, one by one. Okay, but like I said, I don't want to overload you guys. Now I'm just going to go to this RES. This folder is short for resources. Okay, short for resources. We have drawables, layouts, map values. So these are just resources that your application actually needs. The drawables are where you store your images. You can also store them in a map. It's also a form of image. Okay. Values, you have the likes of colors. You can store your color codes. Okay. Strings, of course, you can just store text. So let me just show you. These are for colors. You can just store your color codes and give them a name. Your strings, you can store, whatever string. I know, of course, I'll explain why you have to actually store these. And then theme, okay? Yeah, your themes, you have the light mode, the dark mode. Okay, how do you want, your colors to actually feel, okay, in various modes. Okay, so all these and of course more, but that's not what we're talking about today. So the question is, where do we get to, design? Where do we get to make our, build, start our designing, of the application? Okay, so we go to the layout folder. Okay, so in this layout folder, we have what we call activity_main. Now, remember when we were talking about Kotlin, we said our main function. Okay, when the computer wants to run your program, okay, it first goes to the main function. Okay, it's the same here. When your application is built, okay, when you want to run your application, it goes to the main activity. That is where it actually goes to. And the reason, okay, well, we'll talk about the reason actually, but you can actually set your there's what we call launcher. Okay, there's what we call a launcher. This in command here. So because this is placed in our main activity, okay, which is always there by default, whenever you run your application, it goes to the main activity. But of course, you can actually, decide to start your activity from somewhere else other than the main activity. But by default, it goes to the main activity first. At any point you have a question, of course, just raise your hand. So now at this point, this is where we actually write the codes for functionality, logic, and stuff. But in the aspect of designing, we go to the XML file, which is activity_main. Okay, so this is where we go to. So let's talk a bit about what we are actually seeing here. So let me reduce this a bit. Okay, so let's actually do some justice to this whole layout. Now, first things first, on this part here is where we have our project window. Okay, of course, you've just seen this. So it basically lists all the files. It basically lists all the files that make up your project. Okay, that's basically what you have here. This is the project window. All the files that makes up your project, this is where it is listed. Now, at this center, okay, let me switch this. Okay, good. So at the center here, okay, you can see two things here, one and then two. Okay, so at this center, it represents the screen layout for your application. Okay, so this represents the screen layout for your application. Okay, so the representation on this side, where you have this white side, okay, is a close approximation of what your screen will look like when the application is run. And it's called the design view. Okay, let me show you. I just want to, so this is called the design view. So it's just a close approximation to, what your screen will look like when you run the application. Okay, so we're going to run this, but I think I need to get, sorry, don't need to actually rebuild this. Just need to get, okay, so let's try this. I think I got this one recently. Okay, so let's just rebuild this. So we can actually run it and then you get to see how it looks. But so Okay, so let's run this. So while that is actually, building, so it's a close approximation of what your screen, will look like when the application actually runs, and it's called the design view. Okay, it's called the design view. So yeah, so this is it. You can see hello world. Okay, so it's basically an approximation of what's actually what is. So if I change the color here to blue, I should actually see that it becomes blue here, but we'll get to that now. But when I switch to both of them, there are two views here. You have the design and the blueprint. Now this other view is what we call the blueprint view. Okay, and it's basically just useful for some specific operations when you have to do with probably looking at alignment and the relationships between two views. Okay, we'll get to actually see that once we start implementing some of these designs. Now the next thing is what we call the palette, P-A-L-E-T-T-E. Okay, so this contains a list of different types of views that we can add to application. You can see a lot. You have a text view, you have a button, you have an image view, you have a recycler view, fragments, container view, scroll view, a lot. These are common ones. If you go to text, you see all the views that we have in text. If you go to buttons, you can see them. Widgets, layouts, containers. Remember, we talked about containers, which are view groups, a lot of them. Helpers, of course, Google legacy. So there's a lot of them. Map view, add view. So we'll get to touch these things. Now, another one I want to talk about, of course, is this other place. This is the component tree. Okay, this is the component tree. So on the component tree, you basically just have it just has a different representation of your views. Okay, the views on your screen. Okay, but what it does is that it lists all the views. Okay, if you notice, we have a text view here. So if I'm to add another text view by probably dragging and dropping this, it goes down here also. So it just lists them. Okay, that's basically what that does. So we're going to take that out. And then one other thing, of course, very interesting and important one, is your attributes. Your attributes. So this just shows you the attributes of a view and gives you the liberty to change them. So when I click on the text view, I see the attributes of a text view. What are the things I can change about a text view? Okay, but of course we'll get to really use that. Okay, so now let's actually make some changes. Okay, so first things I'm going to click out. So by default, the attributes I'm seeing here when I haven't clicked on anything here precisely is the attributes of our constraint layout. And this our constraint layout is our view group. This is what is housing this view called the text view. So it becomes our view group. We have view groups like the constraint layout. We have view groups like the linear layout. We have the relative layout. Okay, we'll talk about these things and get to use them as we progress. Okay, so let's actually do let's do a few things. Okay. Now, yeah. So I want to get the attributes of the text view. So I'll have to click on the text view. Yeah, so that the attributes of the text view actually shows up. So so let's look at a lot of things. Now we have what we call declared attributes. Okay, so these are attributes that are given by default. They have already been declared. Okay, and then we have layouts. Okay, so we have transforms, we have common attributes, and then we have all attributes. So it just helps you to kind of narrow down what exactly you're looking for. So if you notice in our declared attributes, if you notice the text we have there, we have hello world. Okay, that's what we have. We have hello world. So I'm going to change that. Okay, we can actually just change that. So I'm going to change it to happy anniversary for those of us who are married, or work anniversary. So just enjoy that. I hope I spelled that well. Anniversary. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So once I click on enter, you get to see that no, the text actually what changes. It's now what happy anniversary. So basically this attributes, this declared attribute just shows you, the text that is printed inside a text view. Remember, we said this every element on your screen is actually what? A view. Okay, so now let's see what else. What else can we actually do? What else can we do? So I want to delete this current text view we have here. So now what do we have? We just have a container. And what kind of container? We have the constraint layout. We'll talk about constraint layouts, relative layouts. I think probably in the next class, we're gonna maybe do some justice to some of those things. Okay. Now let's when we built it, when we opened up this application, it was there by default. So we can add it ourselves. Okay. We can add it ourselves. So how do we do that? Okay, it's just simple. Just click on it and then just drag. So I'm going to drag one here. Of course, you can drag it anywhere. But I'm just going to drag it down here. And then I want to just take out this other view. But yeah, but if you click on this, you get to see, like I said, relationships. It doesn't show you, how a typical representation of how it looks on your app, but you see more of the relationship between this view and the container. Okay, but well, we get to use more of that as we move on. But I want to just focus on the design view. So I'm just going to come here, click on this, and then click on design. So I can focus on that. So let's change the text. So instead of the text attributes being text view, okay, so this is the attribute name and this is the attribute value. So I'm going to change this back to the happy anniversary. You can just put two of those there, and then of course just click on enter, and then we have that. Okay, so let's move on. So what other thing can we actually do? Well, of course, we can do a lot. So let me do something. Okay. I'm going to take out something and then I'll tell you. So I want to explain something to us. So just go. Okay, good. So for instance, assuming you drag your text view, okay, and it looks like this, with these empty circles around here, and then you have this red, when you just hover, when you just take your mouse close to this red circle, you can see what it says. It says missing constraints in constraint layout. And of course, I can actually just click on this to get more details. And when I expand this is what it's saying. Okay, this is what it's saying. So this view is not constrained. It only has design time position. So it will jump to that. Okay, now I'm going to explain what that is. And I would want to do it practically. Let me do it practically. Now, remember we said that this is more like a representation, an approximation of how it should look when you run the application. So I'm going to drag this down here. And let me take out. Now, if you notice, this is blue. This changed to blue. So I don't want that. I'll explain why. So let me just, for some reason, just stay here. Good. So it is assumed, of course, if this is an approximate, representation. So when I run the application, this happy anniversary should be here. So let's see what that does. Let's see what that does. Please confirm you can see my emulator. Just confirm with probably a raise of hand. Confirm you can see my virtual device. If you can't just unmute and let me know. Okay, you can see it's good. Okay, that's fine. So let me run this. Okay, so you can see there's a difference here. This is what it is when we designed it, but this is where it came to when we actually ran the application. Okay, so what's actually happening here? Okay, what's going on here? So now let me show you what actually just happened. Now I'm going to come back here. Now I'm going to go to this layout. Let me just, okay. Let me click on the text. And then you can see this. It's telling you not horizontally constrained, not vertically constrained. So let me use this illustration to explain constraint. So of course, from the literal meaning of the word constraint, you're kind of like holding something to a particular position, something that is holding you, so if you're being constrained, it means you're being held back, you're being held. Now, when we say it is not constrained, it means that it is not fixed to a point. So when you run the application, because you haven't actually fixed it, remember, so just think of it, assuming you have probably a round bowl, and then you just drop a ball, or probably a plate or something, an item in the bowl at any position, okay? Now, you haven't actually constrained it, you just dropped it. Now, if there is any force that acts on that bowl or bucket or whatever container, you notice that what you actually placed will shift position. Why? It is not fixed, it is not constrained to a particular position. But if in that container you probably put, let's say, a ball, and then maybe you maybe add a gum or glue to probably glue it to that position, or probably a sellotape or something to just fix it in such a way that no matter how you shake the container, it does not, leave that position. What you've basically done is that you have constrained that element. So that's just the same logic here. We placed a view, an element in a container called the constraint layout. That's the view group, that's the container. But we have not constrained it, we have not fixed it to a point. So when you actually run the application, by default, it goes to the top left, which is what we call the, when you open this up, it says it will jump to the 0 by 0, 0 at run time. That's the coordinates. That's where it will go to X, Y axis, zeros. So assuming you, or some of us who actually remember the stuff, just draw a cross here. So this is 0.00. Okay, so what do we do? So we can actually fix that. Okay, we can actually fix that very easily. So how can we do that? Well, there are a lot of ways. You can actually just drag and drop. Now, you can actually just do this. So, but let me start with this. Now, horizontally constrained. So this is horizontal, left to right, right? Okay, so I can just click on this. This is the create right constraint. So when I click on it, it creates a right constraint. Now, I'm going to click on the left also to create a left constraint. And I can also click on the top to create the top constraint. So this is what fixed it. So just imagine it as somebody dragging holding your left hand and your right hand, okay? And then somebody pulling you front. Just think of it that way. So you're fixed at a point. 3 forces are acting upon you. So you're kind of, fixed. So now what these figures we have here are what we call margins. So you can, from the top of this constraint layout of the container, from where it is to the top, there's a margin of 316, a space, a gap. Okay, so I can actually just, make that 0. So if I make that 0, you see what we have. If I make it a 0 on the right, this is what we have. If I make it a 0 on the left, this is what we have. Please, if you have a question. Okay, Nedu, you have a question, go ahead.
No, I don't have you were saying if we can see your screen, we should raise our hand.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so let me go ahead. So what do I want to do? So I probably just want to add a bit of space, of course, this is too close to the top. It's too close to the, to the container. So I can just add a margin of 16, yeah, from the top, and then that gives it, a bit of room. Now, at the same time, I probably want to, if I want to just, take it down to the left. Okay. Now, watch this. I want it to kind of be positioned here. How do I actually do that effectively? Now, of course, you may just think, okay, maybe just drag it. Yeah, but if I do, yeah, it actually is fine if I do. But if you notice, there's still this tension from here, from the right, okay, which is not necessary. So this is what I'm going to do. I can actually just take out this right one, and then give this guy a margin of 16 also. Let me make this back to 16. Okay, and then it's just constraint. So let's run this and see. Now, of course, we don't have a red one in here anymore. We have a different stuff, a different one in altogether. I'll talk about that. So let's run this and see if it will stick to the position that we just gave it. So let's see. Yeah, so it does. It actually stuck to that position. So that's actually the concept of what constraints, to fix it to a particular point. So this is just to note, okay, when I was saying 16 and the likes, okay, the unit for margins, okay, this is just for us to know, very important. The unit for margins is and other distances when it comes to your UI, okay, is what we call DP, density independent pixels. Okay, just like your centimeters or inches, but this is now for distances when it comes to what screen. Okay, density independent pixels. Okay, so basically what happens is that Android translates this value, okay, to the appropriate number of the real pixels of every device. Okay, so like the baseline it actually uses is 1 dp. Sorry, just a second. Yeah, so 1 dp is just 1/160th of an inch. Well, this you may not actually get to use this, but you can just for knowledge sake, okay. But it actually can be bigger for some other devices. It can be bigger for some other devices. Okay. So moving on, okay. Let's do something again. What else can we do? We can do a lot of things. Okay, we can do a lot of things. Now I want to add another text. Let's add another text. So I need to use someone. For some reason, I kind of like the way her name sounds. Omo, are you married? Don't be offended. Or do you have a work anniversary?
Yes.
Okay, good. So happy anniversary to you. I don't know when that happens, but happy anniversary to you. So I'm going to use your name right now. Okay, so let's drag another text view here. I'm going to drag that here. So happy anniversary. Okay, so let's constrain this. Okay, I want it to to be to the right. So I'm going to add a right constraint and a bottom constraint. I think that'll be fine. Yeah, a right and a bottom constraints. Okay, so let's stick to 16 density pixels and also 16 from the bottom. Yes. So happy anniversary to Omo. I'm gonna use capital letters. Okay, good. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, happy anniversary to Omo. Yes, happy anniversary to you. So that's it. So these were just what kind of get into, of course, the more you practice, the more you get to understand. So next thing, let's see if we can add some style. Add some style to it. Okay, so there are a lot of things we can do. Now, if you look at, let me click on the happy anniversary. So we have a lot of stuff here. Let's see, let me close this layout. Let me close this declared attributes. So we have all attributes, but you can actually search for some stuff. So there are a lot of things. You have background ink and stuff. So you can actually just go through this, your own time and just play around. But I'm going to add, so one of the things I want to do, I want to check fonts. Okay, so there are some inbuilt fonts, okay, that you can actually make use of. There are some inbuilt fonts you can actually make use of. There are some, so let's see. We have the sans serif thing, light, medium. Now, what if you want to add your own? Okay, you can actually just click here, just after this drop down. Or you can actually, if you're here, you can just click on more fonts. And then there are some fonts that comes, with the Android Studio, and of course the source is Google Fonts. So let's see, yeah, we can decide to just pick any one at all. Let's pick this Amendra, whatever that is. So you can actually add the font to your project or make it downloadable font. Well, so let's just add it to our project. It's the regular type, so I'm going to just click OK. Oh, that's interesting. And then this is what it looks like. Okay, so I don't think we want to use that. So let's switch to something else. Let's just use the monospace. Okay, let's use the monospace. Okay, good. That's fine. Yeah, so that's actually one thing. What else? We can do a lot of things actually, and then you can actually just search for them. And one of the things you can actually do, so I'm just going to type text so that I get to see all the attributes regarding text. So one of the things is the text size. You can see 14 SP. Okay, you can actually see 14 SP. Okay, so just like DP is a unit of measure for distance on the screen, the SP is a unit of measure for the font size. Okay, it's a unit of measure for the font size. It's called scalable pixels. So let's change this to probably a 20 scalable pixel. Okay, I think 20 is fine. Yeah, 20. So I think that's cool. So but you can make it bigger if you want to. So let's see. Of course, we have text color. I can just click on this and kind of have a thing for this color, so I'm just going to use it. Okay, so text color, and then what else can we add? Well, that's just all I'm actually going to do. You can actually handle the rest yourself. So probably let's just do that or more. Let's give her a 36 SP. And then, of course, the text color, let's just make it a black. Sorry. Yeah, let's just make it a black. Okay. The other things you can actually do, such as text style, okay, you can actually make it bold and then apply that. Yeah. So we can actually just do that here too. Let's just, yeah, happy anniversary. Yes. So that's actually, we're actually now, funny enough, you've created an application. We have actually just created an application. So let's run this and see how it looks. Let's run this quickly and see how it looks. Let's see. Okay, so of course we have to reinstall and restart when making some certain changes. Okay. And then, yes, we have that. Happy anniversary to Omo. Okay, so yes, this is actually an application. And funny enough, of course, you can actually just build it and upload it on Play Store. Of course. So you could actually just build something, and then, build it and send to your hubby. Tell him happy anniversary, put his name, and then, of course, we just smile. So that's actually that. Okay, so let's look at one more thing. Let's look at something else. Let's dive in a bit. Okay, how do we add images to our project? Okay, how do we add an image to our project? Okay, Fine is saying he's not seeing it. Okay, is he the only one? Can any other person not see my screen? If you can see my screen, please just let me know. Fine is saying he's not seeing it, so I want to confirm if that's the case for everyone.
I can see.
Okay, so if I probably it's your network. Yeah, so try reloading. Okay, probably it's your network. Probably it's your network. Okay. Oh, you can't see the results when I run it. Okay. 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 Let me do this. Okay. So I want to believe you can actually. So this is the result when I run it. I want to believe you can see that now. Okay. Confirm that you can see it fine. Okay. 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 Okay, so apologies for that. Yeah, so this is the results, okay, when, we actually run the application. So the next thing, okay, let's go a bit further. How can we add images to our applications? Okay, how can we actually want to do that? Now, there are a lot of ways. There are a lot of ways, okay, not just one. Okay, there are a lot of ways. Now, let's do this, okay? Let's do this. Now, right here, okay, if you just, where we have, this is more like, it's a long process, but let me just show you, okay? So I'm going to click on View. Now, right on View, we have tool windows, okay? And then if you come down, we have resource manager. Okay. Now, when you click on the resource manager, it pops up this. So this resource manager houses, it's kind of like houses resources for, for your images, colors, layout, bitmap, string, navigation, animation, and a lot of things. Okay, so this is where you can add and add resources that you actually need. Now, when I click on this plus icon, I can import Drawables. Okay, so of course, when I click on this actually opens up my file explorer, where I can actually just go through and check for a particular image. I could just go to users and go down, and then of course check my documents, my desktop for any image that's there, and get to use it. And of course, so let me just add one. Let me go to pictures, and then let me see what image can I actually just add here. Okay, so let me see. Okay, so let me just add this. Okay, so I'm just going to add this. So when you choose your picture, okay, you can just click on next, okay, and then you can click on import. So a very, very important thing to note, okay, make sure that the name of your file, your picture, whatever file, okay, you're uploading, especially when it comes to Drawables, make sure it is, the name is in small letters, okay, and there's no space. If there are two words, you can use an underscore to separate them, but lowercase all through with no space, okay, else it will throw an error. So this is our image. So I can actually make use of this image, okay. So this is one way to add an image, okay. This is one way. Another way could be you just going to your pictures, probably your file explorer. Where did we get that from? Okay, and just copy, just do a Control-C, okay, and then go to, I'm just going to close this out, yes, and just come to this your Drawables, and then just paste it, and always go to the drawable. This V24, we'll talk about it, but it's for lower versions, but we'll talk about that. So you click on OK, and then of course, well, you can just rename this. I'm just going to use my name on IK, okay, and then click on OK, and then you can actually see it here. So this is the one I uploaded when I copied it, and this was the one I went through the resource manager. So this is how you actually add images to your applications, okay? Okay, so next thing. Now, let's now add an image view. Remember, we said all these elements on the screen are actually just views. So how can we add the image to this screen now, okay, to this container? So it's a very simple thing also, okay? It's a very simple thing also. On our palette, you can see we have image view. So I'm just going to drag and just drop. I'm just going to drop this here, okay? So if you notice, okay, there's a pink rectangle that just appears, okay, around our app screen in this design view. Now, when I go out and come in, you can see there's this pink, kind of rectangle there. So this just indicates the boundaries of the screen for positioning your view. That's basically what it does. If I take this out, you see it's back to, but once I you can see this pink stuff. So it's just the boundaries, okay, of the screen for positioning your image view. So I'm going to drop the image so that the left and the right edge is kind of aligned with the pink, rectangle. So, but whichever way, once you just drop it. So with that, I can now choose any of these images. Okay, so let me just choose this one. Okay. So yes, so this is what I'm actually choosing. So it's an anniversary. So here's a flower from me to you, Omo. Okay, so now, for some reason, okay, I'm going to take out the constraints. This constraint, this automatically, but I'm going to take it out in case you add an image and it turns out that you're having a red here. So I'm going to click on the image view and then layout, and then I'm going to take out these constraints just in case you add yours and then it doesn't add it automatically. So you can see there's a red, telling you here, hey, missing constraints. You need to constrain these guys. Okay, so this is where it gets interesting. And then this is where we're going to talk about relationships when it comes to constraints layouts. Okay. Now, how can I actually constrain this? So when I click on this image view, you can see the circles. So you can actually just drag this. So when I can click on this and just drag it to the top. Now, when I click and drag to the top, you can see that I have now gotten what? A top constraint. I've activated a top what? Constraint. That's why you can see it's now blue. It has a blue color field. I can also click on this and then drag it down to, the bottom. And then, we have our constraint again. I can do the same thing for the right. Of course, you can see that the more I'm adding, you can see for the top, it says top of parent. So the parent is the constraint layout, which is the view group, which is the container. That's what is called the parent. Bottom, you can see the bottom of this image is constrained to the bottom of the parent with a margin of 0 dp. So there's no margin, just 0. Now, but it is not horizontally constrained, so I can just click on this and drag also to the right. And then you can see we have end. So it's either called right or end. So just take note of that. So the end is to the end of the parent, or you can also call right to right of parent, but that's kind of like the lower, back then. But now we use end. And then, so of course, if it's end, that means the left is going to be start. So when I click on this and drag this, you now see start to the start of the parent. Okay, so it is constrained. So let's run this and then see how it actually looks on our phone. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to have to reinstall and restart. So just click on that and then, okay. Okay, so yes, we have actually added an image. Okay, so before we move forward, let me just see if I can explain a few things. Okay, let me see if I can explain a few things. Now, I want to actually, let's try to add a margin. Now, if I click on this, now if you look at this declared attributes. Now, there's something called, you can see the layout width, you can see layout height, these properties, okay? So when I talk about the layout, that is the image view, its width. Now, it is wrapping the content. The content is this image that we put in, so it is wrapping the content. So when it wraps the content, okay, it means that the image and everything just touches, when you actually wrap a gift, okay? So the width and the height, okay, it's wrapping the content, it's wrapping the image you actually just uploaded. But I can decide to do something else. Now, but before I do it, let me explain something about relationships. Now, if you notice, this image is, if you look at this, the top is actually constrained to the top of the parent, but I can change that. What if I wanted to go below, to the bottom of this? Because imagine if this image, was an image that had, maybe it didn't have this white space. It may actually just overlap and cover this happy anniversary. So what I want this image, the top of this image, to be at the bottom of this happy anniversary. So I can just take out this top constraint, just delete it. And then what do? I'm going to click on this and then drag down to the bottom. You can see, maybe I start coming down. It shows me, the points for this text view. So I can just take it to this place and then it is constrained. Okay, but you can still see from the line, it doesn't still sit well. It's supposed to come down totally. And why is it that? To solve that, the height is still wrapping the content. So I can now change it that, okay, hey, don't wrap the content, match the constraints. That means respect the constraint that I have given you. And that constraint is that I want you, the top, to be at the bottom. So respect that constraint. So once I do that, you see it comes down. So it respects the word constraint. Now I can do that to the bottom also. I'm just going to take out the bottom constraint, and then I want the bottom constraint to, so you can see immediately I removed it, it kind of pushed the image down. So let's see. Once I add that, let's see, can we, yeah, so you can see, so the bottom is still at the bottom of the parent. So I can switch this, I can just click here. Sorry. Let's see, once I remove this, okay. Yeah, so I click on it and then drag to the top of this image, of this text rather. Yes. Okay, and then of course, because we have put a match constraint height, so of course the height, that's top and bottom. If I take this back to wrap content, notice the change. You see, it's still wrapping the content, it's not respecting the constraint, but once I switch back, then it respects it and then it encloses. Okay, so that's just, you know, we playing around with the constraint layout. What can we actually do with respect to constraint layout? There's a lot of things you can actually do. So what else can we do? So let's just test that and confirm everything is working fine. So when we run that, you know, everything should still, you know, kind of look good. So yes, everything still looks good. Okay, so now another interesting thing, let's look at some of the properties of an image view. And one very interesting property, of course, you're going to use a lot, is the scale type. Okay, it's part of the common attributes. Okay, this just shows you how your images can actually scale. So there's a lot there. You have the center inside. So when I choose center inside, well, it depends on the image. You may not see some things, but of course, something is being done. So let's see. Fits to start, you can see it fits to the start, fits to the end, you know, center, you can see the effects of having to use center. Metrics, so there's a lot of scale. How can you scale it? Fit X and Y and the likes, fit center. But the one you will use commonly is the center crop. This is the one you use commonly, but depends on the images. But for this particular image, I think fit center is fine by me. For this particular image, fit center is fine by me. Okay, so what next? What next can we do? What next can we do? Let's see. What next can we do? Okay, so yeah, so that's actually that. So let's see. One more thing before we actually finish up this session of creating your first application. And I'm going to call that adopting good coding practices. Okay, adopting good coding practices. Now, when we added a text view, okay, if you notice, look at this, there are these warning triangles here. Okay, these warnings. Now, these warnings will not stop your applications from running. Of course, if it's a red, it's an error. But the warnings doesn't actually stop your application from running, okay? But it's just good to adopt good coding practices, okay? Now, and one of the things we really need to avoid these warnings, especially with text view. Now, let me click on this. You can see what it's saying. It said insufficient. Okay, okay, we have. So let me focus on this first one, which is very important. Hard-coded text, or more, should use at string resource. Hard-coding text attributes directly in layout is bad for several reasons. One, when creating configuration variations, that's landscape or portraits, you have to repeat the actual text, you know, and keep it up to date when making changes. Secondly, the application cannot be translated to other languages. That's one other thing, okay? So how do we, well, we'll talk about how we can solve it. So, but basically when you are writing applications, it's very important to remember that, you know, they may be translated into another language at some point. So we'll have to follow good practices, okay? So whenever you see hard-coded text or hard-coded string, a hard-coded string is basically the one that is written directly in the code of your application. Okay, just like this, just like OMO, it is written directly to the code of your application. Okay, And these strings make it difficult to translate your app into other languages. Okay, and of course, it is harder to reuse them, of course. And one very interesting thing about programming was you need to be able to reuse things instead of having to write stuff over and over again. You need to be able to reuse them. So how can we fix that? Of course, there are two ways. You could just scroll down and then you see fix. So when I click on fix, so you see it wants to extract the resource. Now, the resource has a name of OMO in small letters, and the value is actually what we want to display. And where is this stored? It's going to be stored in our src down to the resource folder. So that's src/main down to our resource folder, and what file in our strings.xml. I think I showed us that before. So you can create the resource for values and values night. So of course, this values night is for night mode. So except you want to display something else in night mode, but of course, I don't think you want to display another text. So I'll just click on OK, and that is solved. That is solved. So if I go to my values and then strings and open this up, you can actually see it here. So with this, I can easily translate OMO to probably the French version or the Italian version of it. Okay, we'll actually translate stuff. Yeah, I think, yeah, we will. I'll try to see if we can incorporate that into our curriculum. Okay, so we'll do the same thing here. Hard-coded text, okay, just come down, fix. I think this is okay for name, and then this is the reason, okay? So I'll just click on okay, and that's fine. So another thing, so for this particular text view, okay, let me skip something. So this is more of a contrast ratio, okay, because it says the ratio is based on estimated foreground, okay, based on the color we are using. Okay, the foreground color is this, and an estimated background of what FFFF, that's white. So consider increasing it. So, well, if you just click on fix, and that will solve that for you. That's very interesting. Okay, and then the last one is for this image. You can see the warning here is your image does not have a content description. So basically, it's just you kind of naming your image. So when someone is going through your code, okay, the person knows, oh, okay, this image is this. So I can actually just, click this, come to fix. Now, in fixing it, I will have to now go to, so you can actually see content description here. So this is also a hard-coded string, but let me just type something here. So I'm just going to say anniversary image and click enter. So I have actually solved the issue of content description, but I had coded this text. So I can actually just solve that by coming down and then fixing it. I can just leave it or change the name to whatever, but this is the value, and then okay. So there is no warning. So this is what we'll talk about when we say good practice. You need to adopt good practices. Okay, adopt good practices. So let's run this and make sure everything is fine. Okay. So reinstall and restart. Okay, so everything is actually fine, has a good contrast and that. So that is actually it. So yes, so this is the first application we have actually built, and we have actually talked about views. We have talked about a lot, views. We've talked about view groups, constraint layout, and a lot of things just in building the application. Like I said, I want us to learn some concepts and at the same time apply them. Okay. I could teach you the theoretical and then we'll do the practical later, but why not we try to, take them, hand in hand, okay? So, yeah, so any question before I probably move to something else, or we call it timeout? Any questions so far? Okay, so Ajadi, your hand is up, okay. Yeah, Go ahead. Yeah, Ajadi, go ahead. I don't know if you're speaking, but you're muted. So okay, I can see your question. It said, how responsive is this to various screen sizes? Okay, well, we'll talk about that. It is not that responsive. Of course, we can actually, of course, and that's the beauty about constraint layout. Okay, we'll get to use guidelines and the whole of that, but to some extent it is, because now let me see. I wouldn't want to create another emulator, but we'll actually get to that where we'll look at how can we scale our designs, how can we scale these things to, you know, look the same, okay, or respect the constraints in various devices. Or, you know, when you move to landscape. Okay, let me just show you. So assuming, let me share the let me share this again. Let me just share my screen and then let's see. So look at the emulator. Now, assuming I'm to turn this, you know, let's see. Need to toggle the screen. I want to, sorry. Okay, let me see. Auto rotate. Okay, good. So let's rotate this. So, well, this one actually comes out a bit well, but you can see the image is, you know, so there's a lot of things, and of course, we'll actually look into scaling these our designs, okay, scaling our screens, our elements to actually fit into whatever, you know, device we actually want to get to use. But of course, when you're using a constraint layout, so we'll talk about that. We'll get to use guidelines, okay? We'll talk about that, and then you design, and of course it will scale across both smaller screens or larger screens, okay? So if you tell it, okay, fine, take 20% you know, from the left, and you know, 20% from the right, okay, on whatever screen, it will obey that guideline, okay? So, but we'll get to actually use it as we move on. Okay, any other question? Any other question? Omo, you unmuted. I don't know if you wanted to ask a question. Okay. So you're good. Okay, that's fine. That's actually good. So we've succeeded in, you know, building just a simple application. Okay. So like I said, I kind of don't want to overload us. I don't want to overload us with a lot of information. I don't want to. Okay. So we're going to take things slow and steady, but of course, at a point we will, you know, have to do a lot. Okay. So we're going to actually call it a night here at this point. Now, in our next class, we're going to look into classes and objects in Kotlin. Okay, so the next class is going to be, we're going to use our full time, maybe extend, I wouldn't want to do, but next class, we're going to look at classes and objects in Kotlin. Okay, it's going to be a very interesting one, so try not to miss it. And of course, get your questions ready. So we're going to look at classes. We'll still talk more about functions, okay, objects, and then we will get to actually now use that knowledge. We get to use that knowledge to make an application that is going to be interactive. Interactive in the sense that, you know, I click on it and it does something. I click on this, it actually does something. Okay, yes, so well, that's good. That's what we're going to be doing in the next class. Okay, how can we add a button to the application, to an application, and how can we create an interactive, implementation, interactive feature in our application. So we'll look at that. And of course, if we have enough time, then we might just look into going into conditions in Kotlin, if else, and then applying it to the application also. So like I said, we're going to be learning an aspect of the language, okay? And then we'll apply it in building an application. You understand? So we don't spend time just learning the language and coming back to now implement. So we learn and implement. We learn the language, implement it in Android Studio, learn the language, implement it in Android Studio. Okay, so so thank you guys very much. And I would want to see what you can do. So a quick task for you guys. Okay, a very quick one for you guys. Now I want you to come up with the design yourself. Okay, I want you to, or probably I'll drop it on the Slack channel, but just design images and text. Okay, and of course it can just be your image, and then you can you can just put KodeCamp. Okay, a text could be I'm a KodeCamp Android learner or whatever. Okay, but you're going to submit it, so I'm going to drop the submission link on the channel. Okay, and so for some of us who have not used, I would want to see how your application is. Okay, I would want to see how your excuse me, application is. Now I know we have not talked about GitHub and and the likes. Okay, so probably, but let me just ask, how many of us have a GitHub account? If you have, just raise your hand. Okay, just 3% for, okay, well, that's fine, okay, just 4%. Okay, no problem, it's okay. So this is what you're going to do, okay, this is what you're going to do. Now, I would want to see your application when you build it. So let me share my whole, let me share my whole screen so I can show you what to do. Okay, so this is, let me just, okay, so, sorry, just a second. Okay, so, so when you're done, okay, of course, when you're done, designing and everything is working fine, okay, you can just go to build, okay, so you need to build the application so that I can actually test it, okay, so just build the application, click on build APK, okay, and then let me take this out of the way. You can see it's going to be building right here, okay, and then when it is done, you will click on locate. Sorry, I'm just going to show us how to do that. Okay, now for some of us, of course, your laptop may not actually have the power to and the capacity to run an emulator. You can just do that with your device. You can actually run it on your device. So I'm going to send a screenshot on the channel. I think I'll probably just do that once this is done. I'll send it, so how to set up your phone, okay? So you can actually use it to run your applications. Okay, you can actually just test it out on your application. So if you have a minimum 8 GB RAM, okay, well, you can actually try installing an emulator. It's very simple. Just click on this icon here, AVD Manager, okay, and then you can just click on Create Virtual Device, and then just choose, whatever device you want to based on resolution, density, pixel size, and then just click on Next, and you would have to download, some of these system images, okay, and the likes, okay, and then you can actually make use of it. So, okay, so this is done, and I think I didn't see the notification here, but I can just click on this, and then you can see locate. So when I click on locate, it takes me to where the APK is. Okay, it takes me to where the APK is. So once you're done with this, please pay attention. Like I said, I want to see your application. Okay, I want to see it run. So what you just do is go to your browser, and then you just go to appetize.io. Okay, you can go to appetize.io. So here you can actually just get to run your mobile applications for a demo. So I'm just going to, let's say, start. So this is just a demo. So you can just create an account. Let me sign in. I think I have an account. I don't know, I can't remember. Let me see. I don't think I can actually remember. But let me just try something. Don't. Okay, maybe I'm actually right. Traffic lights. Okay, I hope those are all. That's all the traffic lights. Okay, values. So I think I can't remember my password. Okay, but let's see. Let's just create. So manage your application. So you can actually just create one. So let me just show you guys this. So, okay, so I can just check my email. I'm just going to do that on my phone quickly. So we can actually just start. So I want to show you guys this so you can actually just get to do it. So I submit. So basically what you're just going to submit is the link to the Appetize where your application is actually hosted, because that's what I would just want to see. So, okay, so I've gotten the mail. So yeah, the link to register expires in 24 hours once it's sent to your email. So you should take note of that. It expires, you just have to try to sign up again. So yeah, so I think I'm almost there. So let's see, probably just go back to. Okay, so so quickly just setting this up right here. Okay, so I can create a password. Okay, so I think I've signed up. Okay, so so let me sign in now. Let's see. Okay, so let's see. Do I want to save this? Okay, let me just save this. Okay, so yeah, so I'm actually logged in, okay, so there's a lot of stuff you can actually just go through, but you can just go straight to upload and then come down to select file. Okay, select file, and then of course to take you to your file explorer. Okay, so you're going to actually do a lot of movements. Okay, so of course my C drive and then users. Okay, so let me see. Debug. So documents. So mine is in documents, anniversary application, app, build, outputs, APK, and then debug. So documents, anniversary application, app, build, outputs, right? I hope debug. Okay, yeah. So I click on this and then open. So it uploads. So this is the process, guys, just so you know. Okay, so just wait that out. Okay, so once it's uploaded, okay, upload successful, and that uploaded by this and that. So you can actually view it. So let me open this in the new. Okay, you can embed, you can manage. So this is it here. So let's see. So download, install, so you can actually see it. So this is what we just built. So once you give, this is the link I would want. I wouldn't want anything. So you can just, yeah. So you can save a screenshot, add media. So there are a lot of things this actually helps do. So manage, let's see what managing does. Okay. Okay, so there should be, you can actually just send that link though. but okay, let's see what Embed does. Okay, well, you can actually just send me this link. I think if you send me this link, I should be able to, I should be able to view it. Yes, so actually, that's that. Okay, that's actually that. So view, embed, debug. Okay, so this just gives you a lot of information. Okay, so that's what you're going to actually submit to me. Yeah, a link to that. Okay, so if there are any questions, okay, please just let me know. Any question? So I'm going to create the submission link, and of course, I want to see that before our next class. Everybody should have submitted that before our next class. Okay, so thank you very much, guys. In the absence of no questions, this is where we're going to call it a night. Okay, so thank you very much. We get to meet the next time. Okay, and we get to move further into learning Android development with Kotlin. So thank you very much and have a wonderful night.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.